I'm just wondering the thinking behind this acquisition. Is it about expanding the business before the expected IPO or SPAC?
Oh, thank you for having me, Haslinda. No, I think, we're delighted to announce this acquisition of the assets from REA Group in Malaysia and Thailand. We really have looked at this last 2 years as a great time to invest into very attractive assets in our part of the world. These are just the latest acquisitions that we're announcing, but these are truly transformative for the group and very excited about the prospects that they bring to our group going forward.
How is it transformative? I mean, you're getting assets from two markets which have been badly hit by the coronavirus. I mean, Malaysia and Thailand struggling to get out of the pandemic. I mean, how is that transformative?
I guess we take a long-term view of the markets. We've been around for about 14 years. When we look to the next 5 to 10 years and growth in the region, some of the macro megatrends remain in place. Urbanization, digitization, the emergence of the middle class remain very strong in both Malaysia and in Thailand. And we've been in both those markets for many years. When we look at these assets that we're announcing the acquisition of today, they're very complementary to our assets, our existing assets in Malaysia and Thailand respectively. And so we really see ourselves as investing into these markets as they emerge out of COVID in the coming years. We'll be very well positioned to serve the customers who are looking for residential housing in those markets.
Hari, you say they're very complementary, of course they are. Are you planning further acquisitions of a similar type? And would they then assist you in getting you over the line to be, in other words, right size for a IPO is what I'm trying to get at?
So when you look at our historical story, we've always complemented strong organic growth with smart acquisitions. We've acquired businesses. We've had 5 or 6 acquisitions in the last 5 years. We did a major acquisition to enter Vietnam a few years ago. At the end of 2020, we bought the largest property database in Malaysia. But really, today's announcement talks about our fundamental belief in the markets of Malaysia and Thailand and the opportunity to digitize real estate in those markets. And so I think we have always seen inorganic growth as complementary to our organic capability sets. And really, we are a technology and a data business, and we look at skill sets that complement that nicely. When I talk about iProperty, for instance, their nationwide coverage as well as their relationships with developers are very complementary to our existing skill sets when it comes to technology and data.
Yep. Hari, you avoided the last part of my question, which was the initial public offering part. When are you going to the market, if at all, and what's your preferable route, should you decide?
I guess the way I look at it is we have very strong existing investors. TPG Capital and KKR have been invested in our company for the last 5 or 6 years. And I think for us, if we were to go down an IPO route, it is just another way to access capital. Capital structure is obviously a very important part to corporate strategy, and we will assess that every year as we always have. But we don't see that as any finishing line in any means. So I think if the opportunity is right, if the markets feel right, if we feel our asset would be valued by public market investors, we would take it public. But I think today's announcement is very much more about just building the core capability set for our business and investing heavily into Malaysia and Thailand.
Hari, before we let you go, give us a sense of the outlook for the property sector in Southeast Asia, particularly in Singapore, where it is seen as a harbor for the wealthy individuals. I mean, does that bode well for the property market here?
So when you look at the Singapore property market, I think, property is core to the Singapore existence as part of the Singaporean dream or home ownership. We have very high home ownership in Singapore. And I think it's not just for the wealthy, obviously, of the wealthy segment and high-end real estate, which is very attractive, not just to domestic investors, but international investors as well. But I think what keeps the property market ticking and growing strongly is a strong domestic demand for everything from government housing all the way through to affordable housing, all the way up to that expensive real estate. And we see very strong demand still in place. Supply obviously is constrained by the fact that currently, for example, construction sites are moving slower than they could because of COVID restrictions, etc. But if you look at it again over a slightly longer time horizon over the next 2 or 3 years, we see strong signs for a rebound in the real estate sector.